The room was dimly lit, the only source of illumination coming from the flickering city lights outside. The air was thick with the scent of whiskey, expensive perfume, and something far more intoxicating, desire. I pressed Sarah against the cold hotel wall, my fingers tracing the delicate lace of her dress before I tugged it down, exposing the smooth, heated skin beneath. She gasped, her breath hitching as I ran my tongue down the curve of her neck, tasting the salt and sweetness of her flesh. "Daniel," she breathed, her voice a whisper of need. She wasn't just any woman. She was Emma's best friend, my wife's best friend. But it didn't matter. Not here. Not when her body was pressed against mine. Her fingers tangled in my hair, her scent clouding my mind. "You're dangerous," I muttered, my lips brushing against her collarbone. She let out a low, throaty laugh. "And you love it." She wasn't wrong. The way she looked at me, with those dark, knowing eyes, drove me insane. There was something wicked in her smile, something that promised ruin, and yet I kept coming back, again and again. I grabbed the back of her neck, pulling her into a bruising kiss. She responded instantly, her hands sliding under my shirt, nails scraping against my skin as she pressed herself closer. I groaned into her mouth, her legs wrapping around my waist as I carried her to the bed. Her dress pooled at her feet, forgotten, as I laid her down against the cool sheets. She arched beneath me, her body a perfect contrast between softness and fire. "Tell me you want this," I murmured against her lips, my fingers tracing the inside of her thigh. She didn't hesitate. "I want you." That was all I needed to hear. I claimed her without restraint, without hesitation, losing myself in the way she moved, the way she moaned my name like a prayer and a curse all at once. The room filled with the sounds of our sin, of lips meeting, bodies tangling, desire consuming everything in its path. I knew this was wrong, but fuck, it felt so right. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time had no meaning when we were like this, tangled in sheets, breathless, spent. She lay beside me, her fingers tracing idle patterns on my chest. The satisfaction in her gaze sent a thrill through me, a mix of pride and something darker. "You always leave right after," she murmured, her voice teasing. "Scared your wife will notice?" Exhaled, running a hand through my hair. "She won't. She trusts me." Sarah smirked, propping herself up on her elbow. "That's what makes this so much fun." I rolled onto my side, watching her. "You enjoy this too much." She shrugged. "And you don't." I didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, checking the time. It was late, later than I'd planned. Emma would be waiting at home, oblivious, trusting. A sharp pang of guilt settled in my stomach. I should leave. I should walk out that door and never look back. But just as I was about to move, Sarah grabbed my wrist. "Stay a little longer," she whispered, her lips ghosting over my skin. Just a little. And I did. I always did. When I finally left the hotel, the night air was crisp against my heated skin. I loosened my tie, inhaling deeply as I stepped into my car. The streets were quiet, the world blissfully unaware of the sins I carried on my shoulders. Or so I thought. As I started the engine, my phone buzzed. A notification. Unknown number. I frowned, unlocking the screen. A video file. I hesitated before pressing play. And then, my entire world stopped. The screen filled with images I recognized all too well. Sarah and me, tangled in sheets, our bodies moving in a rhythm of betrayal. Every kiss, every touch, every whispered word of lust. It was all there. Recorded. Exposed. My breath caught in my throat. Someone had been watching. Someone knew. A cold sweat broke out across my skin as I scrolled down. There was a single message beneath the video. "Did you think you could keep this a secret forever?" Panic gripped me. Who the hell sent this? I checked the sender, no name, no number. Just a void of anonymity that made my pulse pound harder. Fuck. I needed to talk to Sarah. Now. I threw the car into drive, the city blurring past me as I sped toward her apartment. My mind raced, my hands gripping the wheel tighter with every passing second. Had she sent it? Was this some twisted game of hers? No, that didn't make sense. Sarah had just been with me. If she wanted to blackmail me, she would have done it differently. Which meant someone else had been watching. She can't. Sarah just laughed. A slow, amused sound that sent a chill down my spine. "Oh, Daniel," she purred, stepping closer, her fingers trailing along my chest. "You really think she's clueless? Women always know." I pushed her hand away, my stomach twisting with unease. "No," I insisted. "If she knew, she would have confronted me. She wouldn't just..." "Wouldn't just what?" Sarah interrupted, arching an eyebrow. "Wouldn't set a trap? Wouldn't play the long game?" She leaned against the counter, crossing her arms, watching me with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "You underestimate her." I swallowed hard. The idea that Emma had known, had been watching, waiting, made my skin crawl. It wasn't just that I had betrayed her. It was that she had let me. For how long? "Why send the video now?" I asked, my voice low. "Why not sooner?" Sarah shrugged. Maybe she was gathering evidence. Maybe she was waiting for the perfect moment. Or, she smirked, tilting her head. Maybe she just enjoyed watching you dig your own grave. A sharp wave of nausea rolled through me. Emma wasn't the type to lash out in anger. She was calm, calculating. If she had been planning something, it meant she wasn't just looking for revenge. She was looking to destroy me. My phone buzzed again. I nearly dropped it as I fumbled to unlock the screen. Another message. "You should come home, Daniel. We need to talk." I stared at the words, my chest tightening. "She knows." Sarah peered over my shoulder, reading the message. "Looks like your wife wants a heart-to-heart," she mused, her lips curving into something dangerously close to a smirk. I turned on her, my patience snapping. "You think this is funny?" I growled. "You think this is a game?" Sarah's smile didn't falter. "Oh, it's absolutely a game," she said softly. "And you, my dear Daniel, are losing." I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to put my fist through the wall. I needed to get home. I needed to face Emma. The drive home was torture. Every red light felt like an eternity, every second stretching unbearably long. My mind raced through every possibility. What was she going to say? What did she want from me? I had been married to Emma for 5 years. I knew her better than anyone, or at least I thought I did. Had I ever truly known her? When I pulled into the driveway, I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. The house was dark except for a single light in the living room window. She was waiting. I stepped out of the car, my legs feeling heavier with each step toward the door. My hand shook as I turned the knob. Inside, the air was eerily still. The soft glow of the living room lamp cast long shadows across the walls. Emma sat on the couch, one leg crossed over the other, a glass of red wine cradled in her hand. She looked stunning, effortless, like a queen waiting for her next move. "Daniel," she greeted, her voice smooth, controlled. I swallowed hard. "Emma." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Seat." I obeyed, feeling like a child being called to the principal's office. She took a slow sip of wine before setting the glass down. "How long?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. I hesitated. "Emma, How long?" I exhaled sharply. Lying was pointless now. "About 6 months," I admitted. A flicker of something unreadable crossed her face. 6 months?" she repeated, almost as if tasting the words. I leaned forward. "Emma, I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened." She let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "It just happened," she echoed. "That's what you're going with?" I felt sick. "You have every right to be angry," I said, my voice raw. Angry?" Emma cut me off, her eyes locking onto mine. "Daniel, I'm not angry. That was what terrified me the most." She reached for her phone and, with a few taps, turned the screen toward me. It was a bank statement. My bank statement, and my accounts were empty. I went cold. "Emma, What did you? She interrupted me again, her voice as calm as ever. I transferred everything, she said simply. Every cent, every asset. It's all in my name now. My mouth went dry. You? I shook my head, my brain refusing to process the words. You can't do that. Emma smiled. Oh, but I did. I shot to my feet, my pulse hammering. That's illegal. She arched a perfect brow. Is it? I wanted to argue, wanted to call a lawyer, but deep down, I knew the truth. Emma had always been meticulous with finances. She had handled everything, our accounts, our investments. I had trusted her, and she had taken everything. Why? I breathed. She stood, stepping closer. Because I could, she murmured. Because you were stupid enough to think you could betray me and walk away unscathed. I clenched my fists. Emma, please. She raised a hand, silencing me. Oh, I'm not done. She tapped her phone again, pulling up another file. The divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Irrefutable proof of my infidelity attached. My world tilted. Of course I did, she said. She reached for her wine glass, lifting it in a mock toast. You always thought you were playing the game, she murmured, taking a sip. But Daniel, you were just the pawn. My stomach twisted. Who else knew? I forced out. Who helped you? Emma's eyes gleamed with something almost wicked. You already know the answer to that. Sarah leaned against the doorframe, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. She looked completely at ease, as if she had just walked into a dinner party rather than the scene of my personal ruin. You look surprised, Daniel, she said, tilting her head. Did you really think I was just some bored housewife sneaking around behind her best friend's back? My hands clenched into fists. Sarah wasn't just some random affair you stumbled into. I let her get close to you. I shook my head, refusing to believe what I was hearing. That's bullshit. Sarah stepped forward, my voice low. Why go through all this? If you wanted to leave me, you could have just... Emma's soft laughter cut through my words. Leave you? She arched an eyebrow. Oh no, Daniel. Sarah chuckled. Oh, immensely. I turned back to Emma, searching for any sign of the woman I had married, the woman I thought I knew. But all I saw was cold calculation. Did you ever love me? I asked. Emma stared at me for a long moment, then tilted her head slightly. I loved the idea of you, she admitted. But you made it so easy to stop. Her words cut deeper than I expected. I had lost her long before I ever touched Sarah. I just hadn't seen it. The realization burned through me, leaving nothing but regret in its wake. But I wasn't done. Fine, I said tightly. You won. You took everything. So what happens now? Emma exchanged a glance with Sarah before setting her glass down. Now, she mused. Now you leave. Here. You're kicking me out? She smiled. I already did. The house is in my name. The locks have been changed. Your things are packed. The finality in her voice made my stomach twist. You planned this to the very end, I murmured. Emma nodded. Of course. That's what smart people do, Daniel. They plan ahead. Sarah smirked. Unlike you. I turned on her, my patience snapping. And what about you? I spat. Was I just a joke to you? She considered this for a moment before shrugging. Not entirely, she admitted. You were fun. But in the end, you were just another man who thought with his dick instead of his brain. I clenched my jaw. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But what good would it do? They had already won. Sarah stepped aside, her expression unreadable. Goodbye, Daniel, she murmured as I passed. I didn't look back, because if I did, I knew I wouldn't be able to hide the truth. I had lost, and they had played me perfectly. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My breath came in sharp, uneven bursts, my chest rising and falling with the weight of realization. I had been played, not just by Sarah, but by Emma, the woman I had promised to love and cherish. I pulled out my phone. There had to be a way to fight back. Maybe I could salvage something, anything, from this disaster. I scrolled through my messages, searching for any piece of leverage, anything I could use against them. And then I saw it. A single unread message from an unknown number. They think they've won, but they've underestimated you. Meet me tonight. Same hotel. My heart pounded. Who the hell was this? For a moment I considered ignoring it. But curiosity, desperation, and the burning need for answers got the better of me. I started the car and drove. You always did make impulsive decisions when emotions were involved. I narrowed my eyes. What the hell do you want, Sarah? Haven't you and Emma done enough? Her smirk faded, replaced by something more serious. Sit down, Daniel. We need to talk. I hesitated for a moment, then moved toward the chair across from her. Talk about what? How you two ruined my life. How you set me up. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. Emma played you, Daniel. And yes, I helped her. But it's not as simple as you think. I scoffed. Oh, it seems pretty simple to me. She studied me for a long moment before speaking. You think Emma did all of this just to punish you for cheating? I frowned. What else could it be? Sarah leaned forward, her voice lowering. Emma never loved you, Daniel. I swallowed hard. That's not true. She tilted her head. Isn't it? Think about it. When was the last time she really looked at you the way a wife should? Emma has been planning this for years. She married you because she needed something from you. And once she got it, she was always going to take everything and leave. A chill ran down my spine. What did she need? Sarah hesitated. Then she whispered. Money, power, a way out. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. You're lying. She met my gaze. Am I? I tried to wrap my head around what she was saying, but everything felt like a blur. Emma had never really cared about me? Sarah's lips parted, but she didn't answer right away. Then finally she said, maybe, or maybe I just want to see how far she's willing to go. I rubbed a hand over my face, trying to think. So why call me here? She reached into her bag and pulled out a small flash drive. Because you're not the only one she's been playing. I eyed the flash drive warily. What's on it? Sarah smiled. Everything. I hesitated before slowly reaching for it. What do you expect me to do with this? Sarah's smirk returned. Whatever you want. I exhaled sharply, my mind spinning. But you can't ignore the truth. I clenched my jaw. No, I couldn't. I slipped the flash drive into my pocket and stood. Sarah watched me with an unreadable expression. What are you going to do now? But now, it was my turn. I sat alone in my apartment, the flash drive resting on the table in front of me like a ticking time bomb. Sarah's words kept replaying in my mind. Emma never loved you, Daniel. She used you. She planned this from the start. I gritted my teeth, staring at the small device. If what Sarah said was true, then Emma had played a long and calculated game, one where I was nothing more than a pawn. But now I had a move to make. I inserted the flash drive into my laptop, my hands steady despite the storm raging inside me. The files opened, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Documents, transactions, emails, proof that Emma had slowly been siphoning my money into secret offshore accounts. But it was the videos that hit the hardest. Recordings of her meetings with Sarah, of them laughing at me. I slammed the laptop shut, my breathing ragged. She had destroyed me, but I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. I picked up my phone and dialed. It's me. I need to see you. Now. It felt like a costume, a part of her carefully constructed act. You've been avoiding me, she said, tilting her head. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. I've been thinking. Her lips curled slightly. About what? I walked closer, my eyes never leaving hers. About how blind I was. Emma didn't flinch, but I saw the flicker of something behind her perfect facade. My grip firm. Don't. Her lips parted slightly, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she studied me, her gaze sharp and calculating. Let me guess, she said after a moment. She gave you something. Proof. I didn't answer. Her smirk returned. Of course she did. That's the problem with alliances, Daniel. Eventually, someone wants more. I let go of her wrist. You used me. Emma sighed, shaking her head. You act like I'm the villain in this story. But tell me, did I force you into Sarah's bed? My jaw tightened. She took another step forward, pressing her body against mine. No, she whispered. You did that all on your own. I exhaled sharply, my mind battling between anger and something else, something more dangerous. Emma leaned in, her lips brushing against my jaw. So, what now? She murmured. Are you going to ruin me, Daniel? I grabbed her shoulders and pushed her back slightly, forcing her to meet my eyes. That depends. She arched a brow. On? I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, holding it up between us. On the screen was an email, one that contained every single piece of evidence from Sarah's flash drive, ready to be sent to my lawyer. On whether you give me what I want, I said. Emma's gaze flickered to the screen, then back to me. For the first time, I saw real hesitation in her eyes. Interesting, she mused. And what is it that you want? I took a step back, my voice calm but firm. Everything you took from me, my money, my company, my reputation. I want it all back. Emma, scandal isn't a good look for you. She exhaled through her nose, considering. You've gotten smarter, she admitted. I tilted my head. And you got greedy. Silence stretched between us. Then, transferring back what was mine. Publicly, it looked like an amicable settlement. Privately, it was a war neither of us wanted to keep fighting. Sarah disappeared. I wasn't sure where she went. She glanced at me, then smirked. Goodbye isn't our style. I exhaled, shaking my head. You know, for a moment, I actually thought we had something real. Emma paused. I didn't stop her. I had already won. But as I stood there in the silence of my reclaimed home, I couldn't shake the feeling that, in some way, Emma had won too. Because even after everything, after the lies, the betrayals, the destruction, I still wasn't sure if I ever really wanted her to lose.